Teachers, what was the best smartass response you got from a student? Students are witty and have surprising answers to whatever questions you ask them. They are well known for speaking whatever is in their minds without second thoughts. Teachers are the ones who fall prey to such situations most of the time. Today, our Redditors share with us similar experiences that they have faced. Back when I taught first grade, we were doing a writing assignment about Thanksgiving. The kids had to draw a picture of their family celebrating Thanksgiving and then write about it. One little girl drew on the table and chairs, and that was all. I knew she just didn't feel like doing the work, so I tried to prompt her. I asked where the food and her family were, and she snapped right back with, "They're washing the dishes." Had to give her credit for coming up with a logical argument and for not doing the work. Kids are practical. Not a teacher, but witnessed as a student. There was literally 30 seconds left of class, and my buddy started to pack up. The teacher didn't seem to mind, but when the bell rang, the buddy got up to leave the teacher and said the classic line, "The bell doesn't dismiss you, I do." And the buddy just continues to leave, gets in the doorway of the class and says, "If it decides when I come, it decides when I leave," and just leaves the class. It sure does, buddy. This was while working with 9-year-olds. We're doing number problems, and a kid is having trouble with a sum. The sum is, you have 40 sweets. You give half your sweets to a friend. How many sweets do you have now? I grabbed 40 counters and say to the kid, "Here are 40 sweets. If you can give me half, how many do you have left?" Kid turns to me and utterly deadpan says, "I can't give you the sweets. You aren't my friend." Sweets sure aren't meant to be shared. A fellow student in my class shouted that it was freezing in the classroom. The teacher naturally told him not to use the F word, so the kid replied, "It's cold in here." That's just a small miscommunication. My history teacher would spend half the class making jokes directed at the students. One student in particular always took the jokes on the chin and never really made any comebacks. Eventually, the teacher called him out and jokingly lectured him about standing up for himself. He ended his rant with, "You've got to be a man. You've got to be like me." The student replied with, "Well, which one? Do you want me to be a man or do you want me to be like you?" Back at ya. In high school, our functions and relations teacher would always start to say something, forget it, and say, "I lost my train of thought." Well, one day a buddy of mine replies, "It's okay, sir. There were no important passengers on board." There sure wasn't. Reminds me of time in maths in 8th grade when my male teacher refused to let my friend use the bathroom. She again asked several times, urgently, and was still not allowed. So she finally shouted, "Mr. Blank, unless you want a moderately sized puddle of blood in this seat, I suggest you let me use the bathroom." The whole class lost it, and my poor teacher went awfully red in the face. Girl problems. Student A says to Student B, "Dude, shut up." Staff says, "Student A, we don't talk that way. In the future, find a more appropriate way of expressing yourself." Student A says to the staff, "Oh, sorry," then turns to Student B and says, "Dude, would you please shut up?" Now that's more polite. Well, this one was during coaching classes for entrance exams. The math teacher reduced a given problem to a simpler form and challenged the students. So this expression doesn't fit any of the given standard forms for us to find the particular integral. So what do you propose we do? A kid from the back shouted, "The next question." That sure is an easy way to handle the problem. We had a girl in our school named Ray, who was pretty well known for being, quote, easy. In physics class one day, we were just starting to learn about light and we're going over the terms. Our physics teacher was very polite, lovely, no-nonsense kind of teacher. You could crack a joke with her, but she didn't really tolerate blue stuff. We had just finished discussing what the term ray meant, when our physics teacher asked what a group of rays is called. A kid yelled out, "Sluts!" And even though this was 15 years ago, I can vividly remember watching my teacher turn and face the blackboard to conceal her laughter. That's rude now. Let me point out that I'm a female since people will assume I'm a guy. I taught an inner city school. We were talking about prime numbers, so I would have the kids give me a number and we'd work out if the number was a prime number on the board. One kid wasn't paying attention, so me, being a young teacher, I thought I'd catch him off guard and call on him. It went something along the lines of, "Mark, do you have a number?" "Huh? I need your number. Shit, play it cool, girl. We can talk after class. The whole room lost their shit and I turned red from embarrassment. Then they laughed at how red I got. That's a cool way to get someone's number. Spanish class in high school. Two guys who grew up in Spanish-speaking families were goofing off at the back of class. One guy says that he could stand the weight of another person standing on his stomach, and the other guy, who is probably just shy of 200 pounds, doesn't believe him. So the first guy gets on the ground in the back of class, and the other guy gets up and stands on his stomach. The teacher sees this and immediately yells at the guy on the ground to get back into his seat. Without missing a beat, he says, "I can't, he's standing on me." The other guy doesn't move because he wasn't yelled at. Meanwhile, the teacher continues to be upset that the guy on the ground isn't listening to her. How did he manage to talk, though? I witnessed a rather sad one. In my chemistry class sophomore year, one of my friends was going through some family issues, and his dad just left for a year or so. The kid was acting up in class, and the teacher was like, "Do you want me to call your dad?" And he was like, "If he picks up, tell him to come home soon." This one is sad after all. Just yesterday, actually. One of my classes is fun in that we give each other hard times, but it's all in good fun and we accomplish a lot. A girl starts giggling uncontrollably for no reason. She's a bit of an airhead, so I asked her if she saw something shiny and if that entertained her. Another boy jumps in and says, "Yeah, mister, your head. I'm going bald." I wanted to pretend to be mad, but it was just too damn funny. Whoops! I went to Catholic school. Very strict, lots of beatings. Two friends and I had been caught by one of the more violent teachers, Mr. Murphy, off the school grounds climbing in the neighborhood estate's trees. After school detention, we're lined up at his office, where he is screaming at us for our bad behavior, letting the school down, etc. We expect a beating or a 500-word essay if we are lucky. Or perhaps he'll just punch us a bit. He turns to my friend, Dave, and shouts, "Do you climb in your own neighbor's trees at home?" Dave replies, head down and sounding remorseful, "No, sir." "Why not?" "They haven't got any, sir." My other friend literally ended up crying with laughter on the floor. I was shaking with laughter and Dave just stood there, head down, emotionless. Mr. Murphy stood there, momentarily lost for words before shouting at us to get out. And that was it. Funny thing was, Dave never understood why it was so funny. Have you faced similar situations? How would you react if someone gave you a similar answer? Comment your thoughts below and please subscribe to our channel if you haven't before you leave.